Alright, so I got it all broken down. Take a close look at all the parts. Starting with the butt, looks like the butt's okay. It is a little worn around the socket, but it's certainly usable. I went ahead and tightened the stock bolt as an experiment, and it fit just fine, so I think it's just had a loose stock bolt. Got little small parts here in this can so they don't get lost. The draws don't look too good. There's basically a big chunk of wood missing there. Some cracks, so I think this forend is going to need some repairs to be able to be shootable. But with that crack down the front here of the trigger guard, makes it a little concerning too. So I'm not sure if this forend will be usable for me, but I'll give it a try. You can see it's pretty dirty. It's got its usual dirt and grime and some plant life in there. There's a little crack right there in front of where the trigger guard is. See the other side. I mean, aside from the damage to the draws, it looks pretty good on the forend. You can see the nose cap's got a lot of its finish left. Looks like the front top handguard doesn't have any cracks yet that I can see, at least. It's pretty dirty though. Magazine's pretty dirty. The butt plate was extremely dirty. You can see it's got like a ton of just like corrosion, everything built up in there. I have to clean out. But it is brass, so it should clean up just fine. You can see like the sear and that spring there is just basically covered in gunk. Same with the receiver. These usually get pretty dirty. It doesn't look like there's any pitting, just looks really dirty. So this should clean up really nicely. The barrel looks pretty good. I can't see a barrel date yet, but I assume I will when I clean it up. Able to see if this is the original barrel or not. But the serial numbers do match, which is good. So I'll go ahead and get started cleaning this up. I'll get all the small parts boiled up and I'll clean off the wood. I use some Murphy's oil soap and a sponge with some warm water to clean that out. And I follow it up with some boiled linseed oil. And once I'm done boiling the parts, go ahead and card them and oil them. And I'll show you how it looks at that point. Alright, so I got the boiled linseed oil on the wood. You can see it's looking really nice. It's really helped bring out some of the grains in the wood, as well as kind of improve the color of it. Especially on this side, you can see some of the walnut grains in here. The forend as well looks really good, cleaned up nicely. Especially on the inside here, in the barrel inlay. Looks very clean. Top handguard looks good too. Looks very clean. The linseed oil did a good job with it, as well as the Murphy's also. So go ahead and take a look at all the metal parts. Alright, so I got all the metal parts cleaned up. Came out pretty nicely, so I'll go ahead and take a closer look at these. Starting with the receiver, you can see the receiver marking starting to come out a little bit. It did get hit pretty hard with that wire wheel, so see what some chalk does to it. Did take all this apart, clean it out, so it looks really nice now. There's no that gunk in there. Same with the rear sight, took that apart. It does appear the barrel and the receiver match. Kind of make out the Iraqi markings. The barrel is pretty nice. Got just kind of some really minor pitting here, but otherwise I don't see any pitting on the barrel, which is pretty nice. Got the nose cap here. Did get hit by a wire wheel, but boiling it and carding it did help it a bit. I haven't been able to take apart the bolt completely. It's very seized up back here where the firing pin screws into the cocking piece. And I've dealt with a lot of these before, but this one is by far one of the most stubborn ones I've ever dealt with. So I'm just gonna have to put put some Croil in there and just kind of take my time and use a couple techniques that I use. Usually Croil helps, along with maybe some heat, and just kind of break that firing pin loose over time. So that's definitely going to have to be something I do in the future, though, because it is very stubborn. Magazine cleaned up nicely. Again, you got that scratches from a wire wheel, but it did boil and card nicely. The follower and spring is in good shape. Same with the stock bolt. I did see that the safety here, this part was sheared off, so I went ahead and replaced that. Luckily I had a spare hanging around. The butt plate turned out really nicely. I got all that gunk and corrosion off of it. It looks really nice now. Boiling it helped loosen a lot of that up. And I also cleaned out the spring here. Trigger guard and the trigger look nice. And I got all the small parts here in this tin. Got those cleaned up. So I'll go ahead and reassemble all this and then show you how it looks. Alright, so I got the Enfield put back together. Go ahead and take a closer look at it. Starting with the butt. You can see that butt plate cleaned up really nicely. Same with the stock disc. I don't really like to polish the brass, but I do clean it. I think polishing the brass kind of makes it look a little out of place. You can see this butt stock here looks really nice. It's got a lot of nice grains in it. Cleaned up really well. It's really solid. I think this butt stock was probably replaced somewhat recently in its service life. It does look like it's the original butt stock because it's also Iraqi marked. But it was either replaced or wasn't beat up like a lot of the other butt stocks I've seen. I don't see a lot of repairs or anything on it. I don't see any repairs on it, so it looks pretty good. Tried to put some chalk here in the receiver to help show the markings, but you can kind of barely see that it is a 1918 BSA, and it's a Mark III star. They really did a number on this marking with that wire wheel, unfortunately. You can see another bit of wire wheel marks there as well, and on the magazine. But it's certainly a lot better than a lot of the other ones I've seen where they basically just wire wheeled it till it's in the white. So they were at least somewhat conservative with it compared to these other ones. I did install a top handguard here. I had an extra one, and I swapped out the rear sight protectors with a wartime style. Did put a little chalk in the Iraqi markings here, so you can see those as well. Rear sight looks pretty good. Clean that out completely. There's a lot of just gunk and crud in there. And the forend cleaned up nicely. The top handguard's still a little dark, but it's still clean. And then you can see the nose cap definitely got hit by the wire wheel, but at least there's some finish remaining. I've seen a lot of these just in the white completely. Some wire wheeling here as well in the rear band. So go ahead and turn it over. Looking at the other side of the buttstock, looks even better than the side it was just on. You can see it's got a lot of really nice grains in it, cleaned up really well. Really like this buttstock on it. See, they put an import mark here. It is really small, which is good because usually it's like a really massive import mark. You can see it just barely there. Since these do have barrels that are completely contained by the rifle, you have to put it on the receiver. You can see there's some scratching here from the wire wheel, but a lot of the finish on the magazine is still remaining. Looks pretty good. Let's move down the rifle. See some scratches here on that band. Looking at the other side, you can see some really nice striping here on the butt. Now, this crack here really wasn't too bad when I cleaned it out, So I think should be able to shoot it just fine. This forend is definitely going to be usable. I don't see any other damage here. So overall, the aesthetics of it looks pretty good. I do need to take apart the bolt, so I'd be able to clean that out at some point. So I'm gonna have to basically just let that sit in some Croil and just continue to work at it until I can eventually get it taken apart. And I'll go ahead and take a look at the bore. So the bore looks pretty good, especially for a C grade. It's definitely a shootable bore. Compared to my other C grades, I would say they had slightly better bores in this one, but this one still has a bore that's shootable. I know I've seen a lot of B grades, even what they call their original grades, have pretty much shot out bores. So the fact that I got a C grade with a bore that I can actually shoot out of is pretty fortunate. So having gotten 3 of these, what are my thoughts on them? I get that question sometimes in the comments, and I'd say that, I mean, for $199, and especially now they're including the magazine, it's definitely worth it. I mean, even if you get something that's completely shot out and it's bore, you still have easily that much in parts. And unlike the DP rifles that are floating around, a lot of these parts are still usable. With the DP rifles, you pretty much can't use any pressure bearing part or anything like that. So these aren't DP rifles, so that's a big advantage there. Also, these are salvageable. I mean, even if it has a shot out bore, if it has a problem with the bolt, you could replace the bolt. So definitely recommend these. Now, you may get more of a project than you gambled on. I mean, you might have to replace the forend, or you might have to replace some major components, but so far I've just basically done fairly minimal work to both of the BSAs I've gotten. The Australian Lithgow I got, since it had a softer wood stock, the coach wood, I have to basically replace the whole stock on it. That should make for a fun project. If you'd like to see that, I'll have that on my channel coming up. I already posted a unboxing video on the Queensland maple stock I'm going to be using to restore that one. I'll also do a video coming up. I'll put all 3 C grades out and just do a comparison and kind of sum up my thoughts on them. If you'd like to see that, feel free to subscribe and sign up for alerts. I have some more projects coming out as well. Got some more things coming in, so those will be coming out as well. If you have any questions about this rifle, feel free to drop them in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching.